because I know that I've had opportunities, and I think most people have had opportunities where they didn't jump on the opportunity simply because of fear. And the general concept of fear is one that can be traced back to our ancient ancestors. If you've ever seen the Croods, never not be afraid, right? Like that was there. That's how they survived. That's how. Well, hello. You are listening to Legacy Through Literacy. I'm your host, Eddie, and we have video. So that's always fun, right? My producer has been pushing me to get it. Shout out to Podcast Mentor. And here we are. So as I ended the last episode, we discussed what the whole concept of why you're broke. And this is like, as I mentioned, it had nothing to do with the idea or the philosophical idea of gratitude. This has more to do with why we are fixated on the concept of working a 9 to 5. One of the best quotes that I heard was that we will spend 30 years working for someone else to make them a millionaire, but we will not spend or give ourselves 2 to 3 years to build our own legacy. And this has kind of resonated with me in a lot of different ways because I know that I've had opportunities, and I think most people have had opportunities where they didn't jump on the opportunity simply because of fear. And the general concept of fear is one that can be traced back to our ancient ancestors. If you've ever seen the Croods, never not be afraid, right? Like that was there. That's how they survived. That's how the head of the household told everybody, never not be afraid. So change is wrong. It's dangerous. It's scary. Do not do it. Focus on what we know, how we do it. And those are the things that, will keep us in survival. These are the things that keep us moving. These are the things that make our lives make sense, right? One of the things that I've heard recently in my ventures through the whole mindset journey is that fear is there to explain to us that things could be wrong or we've experienced some kind of wrong in this said situation. So anything that reminds us of a said situation triggers our fight or flight response. And then that fight or flight response is how we respond, right? Most of the time, I think most of us are willing to just chalk something up to ridiculousness or doesn't work for me or I could never see myself doing this or whatever. That's usually the general response. But what that is it's your brain literally tricking you into ignoring the incoming information and convincing you that it's a danger, right? It's fear manipulating your amygdala, telling you that this is what you're supposed to stay away from. I think one of the biggest things that we have focusing on that is that the attention bias can narrow your focus and pigeonhole you into ideas like working your standard 9 to 5 versus trying to create your own business or create your own venture, to go out and seek that dream. I think fear hangs us up in a way that we've been taught from our family, from our culture, from our upbringings, that this is not how things are done. You see this a lot with people, like they get stuck in Joe Coy. He's like one of my favorite comedians, but he talks about like Filipinos and how all Filipinos are expected to go into medical nursing or something to that degree. And his mom is upset with him. It's on one of his specials, and his mom gets upset with him because he's, he wants to be a comedian. He wants to pursue this career, and his mom gets mad at him because she's expecting him to be a nurse, And he jokes around that, like how many, like he does like a kind of a crowd poll, and he's like, hey, just out of curiosity, how many of you are nurses? How many nurses do we have in the house? And like he's got a big Filipino following, so everybody like raises their hands and they're cheering. And he's like, see. But I think just that, like his story, Joe Coy's story about becoming a comedian and pushing past all those boundaries, pushing past the fact that everybody was telling him to go the other direction. He still kept doing it. It was his dream. It was the thing that he wanted to do. The back to the mindsets. They got memory consolidation. So there's a lot of studies out there that talk about fear and how it triggers traumatic response, how we focus more on the negative things that happen in our lives rather than the positive things that happen in our lives. And then that is what we make our decisions based off of, which makes sense, right? Like, we don't want to lead ourselves into this tortuous state where we're just doing the same thing over and over. I mean, you kind of see that with nihilistic types in the sense of like addiction, when you get caught into those rabbit holes of vices and you end up in this perpetual spiral. I mean, that is the negative side of chasing the thing that you want, right? Like there's always a balance that's found in anything. But I do believe overall, I think fear is a hindrance to creating paralysis in our decisions, making impulsive decisions in our decisions rather than being mindful of the things that we are actually going through. It can affect our problem solving. Rumination, obviously. I think a lot of people get stuck in the idea of this is how I was told it should be. I mean, just think of like how our system is set up. Like, how do we go about at least in the US, like our culture is set up as such that you go to school, some of us, more than 12 years for basic education. Then you go to college, and then you do your college. And after your college, you go to a job, an internship, something that's going to, help you become a good member of society, become something that, but then you get people that are the outliers. You get the Steve Jobs, the Elon Musks, the Peter Thiels, like all these Mark Zuckerbergs, like all these people that kind of just stepped out. And it's like, they're not different than you. They just had a thought. They had an idea and they ran with it. And instead of being hindered by the idea of the thought, they kept up with the dream, the passion, the drive, the thing that they wanted to do that was more important to them than maintaining the status quo of keeping this job. And there are like a lot of true signs to fear. I mean, look at people that like anxiety is like on the rise. Like there's stuff that fear can affect you in a way that is legitimately health concerning. And this could be a whole separate podcast, talking about how you should handle your emotions, how the Stoics express reflecting on your emotions. What's that movie, After Earth, I think it's called, the Will Smith movie. But he says, fear is not real. And he says, don't get me wrong, danger is very real, but fear is not real. Like the whole concept of that movie was like getting past your fears and just getting the job done. So whatever whatever it is that you want to do. I mean, I think a lot of people would be happier if they could just pursue the things that they wanted to pursue. In fact, I think as AI and as technology advances us forward, we're really going to have to figure out, like, things are going to get easier and that's, again, another whole different discussion, but things will get easier for the average citizen. Like, a lot of these jobs are not going to exist. A lot of these things will not exist. So we have to be able to think of the things that are outside the box. And why not do the thing that you always wanted to do? Why not do the thing that you love? I discussed this with my daughter who loves dance, and she's talking about the financial constraints that artists have. And that's the reason the adage is there that, there's starving artists out there. And people fear that. They fear that they won't have the thing that they want. And I think we've gotten to a point now where a lot of people are okay with just getting by. Like, they just want to be able to live their life. They just want to be comfortable, have a place to rest their head, a safe place to rest their head, good food to eat, and just do the thing that they love. And I don't think there's anything wrong with people wanting to do the thing that they love. And I think that rather than getting that grumpy employee, that grumpy person that shows up to work every single day, complains about how they've worked their entire life and they're only gonna walk away from this job with a watch or something. I get it. Like I get it, but why? Like, do you want to be that person? I mean, we only have so much in our lives. We only have this amount of time, and I think that to allow such a force like fear when it's just an emotion, right? Like it's something we have control over. It's not something that you need to have in your life to have a forward progression in your overall life, but it's there and it sits on your chest and it tells you not to move and you listen. It tells you not to look and you listen. It tells you not to take that first step and you listen. Like, these are the things that I think a lot of people, and I think there's a lot of factors also that play in this, right? Like, you've got family, if you have kids at home, support systems. That'll probably be the next episode. Will be discussing your support system, the people in your inner circle and your sphere of influence. That'll be the next episode. But I think one of the biggest struggles that people have a problem with trying to become an entrepreneur or to expand into the mindset of business negotiation or business entrepreneurship, trying to be a person that is connecting community, which is one of the biggest focuses that I've got going on. Connecting people, connecting the mindset of the entrepreneur, connecting the function of community, connecting the process of creating an inner circle that supports itself and becomes its own ecosystem and expands to create a larger community, right? If you could see some of the things that the people that have helped me overcome my mindset and overcome my fear, and the things that they've achieved and where they've come from and the stories to be told and the things that they're pushing to create, you would see that why fear is such a moot force in the overall outcome of who and what we can be, of who and what we want to be. I think there's a big place to not be risk averse in certain things. Obviously, I mean, if you're, if you want to jump out of an airplane, jump out of an airplane. But I think the first step to owning your own business of whatever kind, whatever it is, I don't feel like that shouldn't feel like the same risk yet. That is, right? Like for a lot of people, the idea of going out and working for yourself is the same as jumping out of an airplane. And I think that doesn't make sense. I mean, when you really think about it, if you think about like how people operate, how people function, it's like that, those two things, one is going to potentially help you become a more financially grounded person in the future. And the other one is jumping out of an airplane. We're going to be scared of both equally at the same time, because that's the correct thing to do. Another part actually go ahead and edit back to right there. Another thing that we need to focus on when we're kind of challenging our perspective and challenging our paradigm and making sure that cognitive dissonance isn't a process that if you don't know what cognitive dissonance is, it's basically not allowing new information to affect your current information. Triggers the fight or flight response, basically forces you to become aggressive towards the new information or to run away from the new information rather than to not accept but listen. Because that's the thing. You don't have to accept everything that's told to you. Just listen. Give yourself a moment to run it through your brain, filter it, see how it comes back out, see if anything echoes with or resonates with you, stuff that doesn't just confirm your biases, but may also trigger a critical thinking response that maybe this is something that you could do. Maybe this is something you can look into. Well, I appreciate you listening. This is Legacy Through Literacy. I'll leave you with this quote. There's only one thing that makes a dream impossible to achieve: the fear of failure. And I think I've come to that in a lot of positions in my life. The fear of failure has hindered my growth in many, 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 many things. So thank you for listening, and I hope to see you on the other side. I'm Eddie, your host with Legacy Through Literacy. This is a Podcast Mentor production. Have a good weekend. Take care.
You're listening to Legacy Through Literacy, where we dissect the philosophy of money one mindset at a time. From uncovering why we settle for our current financial standing to facing the fears that keep us from taking that first crucial step, we tackle the beliefs that are holding you back. Guided by insights from legendary thinkers and today's financial trailblazers, we don't just talk about change, we empower you to own it. This isn't just talk, this is Legacy Through Literacy.